This is unbelievable. He did it. He actually did it. Pirate. My middle name is Narcissism Software. Not only went ahead and made killing games all about himself, that he is the victim, and it's your fault that you do not understand how right he is. Because did you know he worked at Blizzard for 7 years, by the way? Just a small fact in case you did not know, by the way. Just think, 7 years at Blizzard. That's a big deal, right? But he pushed farther, okay? If someone could go Super Saiyan out of pure ignorance and self-loving, it would be Pirate Software. I mean, this was on my bingo card, honestly. This was on many, many bingo cards. Because we all thought that Pirate Software could actually unironically do it. But at the same time, I think we all kind of also knew and thought that there is no way that Pirate Software is actually going to be insane and stupid enough to claim that the only reason Stop Killing Games is succeeding is himself. It's the most obvious thing that's gonna get you in hot water. People are gonna hate you. And Pirate Software just does it. He just does it. He goes straight right in there and just does it. No, seriously. I expected a lot of bad things from that Nepo baby. But this is just insanity, okay? So here's the full statement, and then we're gonna look at the graph. And boys, listen, I'm not gonna spoil this, but we're gonna have a long discussion about this graph. Because this graph, if you know me, you know that I tend to spaz out only about one thing in lives. Well, two things. It's poorly made graphs and people who cannot read graphs. And this graph is like the holy trove of nothing being portrayed correctly, right? And well, if Pirate Software's ego could be put on a graph, this is right here, okay? The last time I spurred out so hard about the graph, it was roughly 3 years ago when Asmongold was looking at Google Trends and he could not say a single correct thing about literally a single fucking line going up. Okay? And this is gonna be a much, much bigger crash out for me, okay? But before that, let's read Pirate Software's statement. The most interesting narrative is that my video somehow killed the initiative. This graph shows that the initiative already had a downwards trend in interest when my video dropped. My videos do not seem to have had any impact on the movement at all. Now, saying this and putting out these graphs would alone actually allow me to make this video because, spoiler, these graphs are either intentionally made incorrectly or they're fake because he's a fucking idiot. I honestly think he's an idiot because these graphs are hilarious. I'm gonna point out, I'm not kidding, there's like 50 things that you can point out about these graphs that make them incorrect, untrue, and probably completely fucking made up. And I looked at this image online, couldn't find it. So this is, as you would expect, a Pirate Software original. And we're gonna have so much fun. And don't worry, you don't have to know anything about graphs to make fun of Pirate Software, because this shit has his ego plastered all over it in the dumbest ways possible. But then we get to the best part. Even though he didn't kill, let's just read it. Well, let's start here. My videos do not seem to have any impact on the movement at all, but making me the villain did. And this sentence literally is him taking credit for it winning, okay? For it crossing the 1 million signature line. Yes, he could not just, he needed to make it about himself. Best luck with your next steps. And then he has another post here. explaining why he doesn't like it, and the explanation is Daniel's blog. And if you just read the first sentence here, which I'm not gonna read, you instantaneously are like, who the fuck is Daniel, and why is and how much medication is he on? Because this is autistic. But anyway, boys, let's jump into probably the most hilariously stupid graph I have seen at least in 3 years. Okay, so first of all, this is Pirate Software's ego just on paper form. Okay, because I cannot imagine someone else actually doing slow decay coefficients, moderate decay coefficients, fast decay coefficients that are literally here. This is just a projection of what the future probably looks like. There is no point in making this unless you want to just look smart. And Pirate Software, as always, considering he's probably not smart about a single fucking subject, completely fails. Because here's the trick. These two graphs are supposed to be the same thing. Because he's trying to show his impact through them. But the thing is, this graph is real. This graph is probably completely made up and fake. Because it doesn't make sense. So, first of all, let's just look at the very most basic things ever possible, okay? So, here on the x-axis, or is this the y-axis? Not sure, pick one, is signatures. And then here is daily signatures, and here is the time, okay? Here is there is no real time, but there is actually a time. Because the time should be the same here and here. Because these are the same graphs, technically. But that's just an overview so you can follow along what's happening, so you understand what you're looking at, right? And they're supposed to be pretty simple, right? So first of all, let's start looking at this. Pay attention to slow decay, comma, k, which is coefficient 0.1. Okay, that's fine. We have slow comma decay, slow comma coefficient 0.1. Then we have moderate comma decay coefficient. Then we have fast decay comma coefficient, and then we have expected decay no comma anywhere coefficient 0.15. And then we have cumulative signatures, because the word cumulative cumulative signatures is just so much fancy than all signatures or some signatures or whatever the fuck. Motherfucker should have done the M thing with the underscore. Okay, that would have been the most prime Pirate Software. Okay, tips for the future if you want to look fancy and retarded at the same time. Then, keeping up with the decay coefficients, let's look at them. Okay, so first of all, we have the decay coefficients here, because this is actually some kind of program, Excel or whatever, that he used to get them. It's just the default thing, and he has no idea. He is not even using it, right? So he did this, okay? This thing is made up of the average plus minus x. X is in this case like 0.1, 0.2, 0.15, and all of these things. And that's how you get get these decay coefficients. So here they go up and slowly trickle out, because this is what the graph does. But here they magically go down, which is impossible if this is supposed to be the same graph. And Pirate Software wants you to look at this graph and be like, oh, there the signatures are going up, but there the daily signatures, they're going down, which doesn't make sense. Then the second thing that you should notice is the fact that here we have signatures. The first point is 250k, then it's 500, 750, 1 million, 1.5, 200 milli, because that's how far his decay coefficient goes. Here on the other hand, we have 10 to the power of 2, 10 to the power of 3, 10 to the power of 4, and 10 to the power of 5? What the fuck? Only Pirate Software would actually choose to unironically use something this confusing and stupid as the amount of signatures. Also, this doesn't make any goddamn sense. Let me explain. So, first of all, 10 to the power of 2 is 100. 10 to the power of 3 is 1,000. 10 to the power of 4 is 10,000. 10 to the power of 5, yeah, it doesn't actually matter how much that is, but it's 1 0 more. Okay? So, if you look at this graph, considering the timing here should be the same, these these lines should be the same. That this line right here should be exact copy of this line, but for some reason it's fucking not, which doesn't make a lot of sense here. Okay. So here we should, considering this is average signatures per day, this line should be the exact same as this, but here we have some kind of strange fall off. Okay, and Pirate Software wants you to look at this and say it's tapering out, and then look at this and saying, oh, look at that, it's already going down. But the reality is, it's going down here. First of all, we have no reason to assume it was going to go down. Second of all, we can see the graph here is still going up, which means that the daily average signatures should have been the same here as here, which means this graph doesn't make any sense at all in the first place, because something here is completely wrong. Because it should represent this part right here, aka, well, if you look at this part right here, it's actually the same. It's the same point of increase. This graph, every slope that you look at it, should be represented here in, if a slope is this like this graph should represent that slope as a pretty much straight line, because that's how many signatures it is, because this is literally the initiative, but day by day by day by day. So again, it's kind of hard for me to explain exactly. I hope you're following, okay? Because there is no simpler way. I'm sorry, but there is no simpler way I can explain this, okay? There is no simpler way anyone will ever explain this to you than me. I'm a professional at explaining this stuff as simply as possible. And this is sadly not exactly like the beginner shit. Why this graph is incorrect is a little bit more advanced than beginner stuff. But again, hopefully you can follow, okay? So the point is, this graph should actually never kind of go down. That's kind of the trick behind this graph right here at the bottom. It should never go down. Because even if the signatures, okay, if you, there is an alternative how this graph should look. Considering these both graphs start at the same point, this one is the explosive point like this. And that should make it that the graph looks something like this for the start, and then it starts to go like this. Okay, that's how it should work. But that is not what we are actually seeing here. We are seeing only this small little part here. After we're seeing the drop here, and everything else just seems kind of fucking complete bullshit, okay? It should not look like this, but for some reason it is. There is a chance it's because Pirate Software intentionally tried to manipulate these numbers right here, because how well understandable your graph usually looks is very much reliant on this on the numbers here and the numbers here. In this case, it's dates. So we know that this should be theoretically the same exact information. But it doesn't seem like it now, does it? Okay. For example, look at here. Like, what the fuck is going on here? It's literally almost a perfectly kind of straight line, but yet you're telling me it's not? Like, it's a little bit insane. It doesn't make sense. And again, and the fact that it doesn't make sense and it's not true is the fact that this goes like this and this goes like this, which makes me think that instantaneously these numbers are not actually the same numbers as here, which is kind of sus. They should be, right? But they're not, because this is again, the decay coefficient is based off of this graph, and the decay coefficient here is based off of this graph. The reason this goes up is because it trudges like this, and then it shoots up right here. And this is what we see in the representation. Here it goes down because on average, this graph is going constantly down, even though this graph is constantly going up, even though they represent the exact same fucking thing, aka signatures in this case. It just doesn't make sense. So this graph is completely fucking doctrine fake shit. Or Pirate Software is, as we all know, dumb enough to actually not understand the absolute abomination that he fucking made here. Okay? This graph is so bad, in fact, maybe even Asmongold could look at it and say, wait a minute, something seems fishy about it. Okay, this is how bad this graph is. Okay, and we're talking about a guy who literally could not fucking read or interpret a single line going up. That's impressively stupid. Yeah, well, that's it. This is, well, I mean, again, Pirate Software is going to lie about everything. And, I mean, this is one of the most obvious things that he would lie about, which is kind of funny. But yeah, this is how it is. And it's all fake. It doesn't make sense. Something is wrong here. Again, I personally think it's hilarious that he decided to say, oh, this is 10 to the power of, this is 10 to the power of 2, 3. This whole thing just screams nepotism and trying to look better than he actually is in real life and over exaggerating his accomplishments. At this point, I honestly think we should go and do the video about his LinkedIn page, because his LinkedIn page is a fucking classical example of someone faking his accomplishments. Okay? And this graph also, again, everything about Pirate Software just screams fake it until you make it kind of mentality. And obviously nepotism, and obviously narcissism. 10 out of 10. Anyway, this was hilarious. Leave in the comments if you could understand this, because, again, this is not the simplest one, because this is not beginner shit. But I hope I explained it so at least people semi-understood it. But if you did not understand it, don't worry. This again, this is kind of go college things, lines and whatnot, mostly. Not that you actually learn this shit in college, but that's kind of the level it should be. It's a little bit a lot more advanced. Yeah, the fucking fact that he couldn't even put the comma in the correct places is just fucking killing me. Not that I know where the comma should be actually put. Probably in front of the coefficient, but whatever. Ah, man, Pirate Software, the never-ending lol, cowboys. Thanks for watching. Bye. I had fun at least.